Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Skin Talk Tuesday podcast. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Everyone, we are welcomed by Emily Gardner, also known as Nurse Acne on Instagram. She is an integrative health practitioner, a registered nurse, and also a fellow acne sufferer. I know you have your own journey to share. So, Emily, it's so nice to have you on. Welcome to Skin Talk Tuesday.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Mary has been raving since you guys connected for coffee. She's like, we need to have Emily on the podcast.
We had the best conversation. I mean, as you guys know, and like I'm sure experience with everyone that comes into Pacific Touch, when you meet someone who's had a similar journey to you and has struggled with acne, because it is so emotional and it's not just like, what did you try? What didn't work? It's like, how did it impact that period of your life? And so Mary and I were just like going back and forth.
No,
like, oh yeah, I did this.
Had like horror stories that we were just going back and forth between.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wait, we got to stop and just chat on the podcast because I feel like everything that we said was just so relatable. And then obviously, Nick, I feel like I'm always venting to you about things, but it was nice to have like an outside perspective too. So now we can just come together.
I think it's like the secret source of true healing is that recognition that there's an there's a story. And I think that a lot of us, even though intellectually we know we're not alone, we feel alone.
Yeah.
So when you meet other people that have gone through what you're going through or are doing it at the same time in real time, it just gives you like a sense of relief, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, it's like hearing someone else's story and seeing yourself in it is truly so reassuring.
It's just validating for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it feels incredibly lonely. And a lot of times when you're in the midst of it, you don't know how to talk about it or don't want to talk about it. But when you meet someone else who's struggling and you start to like open up and peel back those layers, it's like, actually, I do want to talk about this. Like it's relieving.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. I'd love to start with you and your background. I know you, like I said, you're a registered nurse, but how did you get in from there to then more of the integrative side of healing?
Yeah. So I started nursing in 2018. Graduated from nursing school, went straight into bedside. I knew I wanted to always work in oncology. So actually my specialty was working with cancer patients, doing chemotherapy. And I got 2 years into my nursing career when COVID hit. And
the world turned upside down.
Exactly. Like not something any of us could have expected, not something I could have ever anticipated.
Oh, and to be in the medical field
my career
when that happened.
Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, our hospital, like our day-to-day changed every single day. We were getting a new protocol or, today we're masking, tomorrow we're wearing respirators. Next week, like it was just constant chaos, right? And trying to get ahead of it, but feeling so behind constantly. So that was chaotic enough. But in 2020, I really started to develop like cystic, painful acne. And I'd had acne in high school.
Do you think it was from the mask wearing?
That is what I first thought.
Because I read an article about how the masks actually triggered a lot of acne in people, but also perioral dermatitis.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I thought that it was from originally. I was like, it surely just has to be the masks. They're very irritating. And you don't know what all of them are made out of. We've got microplastics sprayed with all kinds of chemicals. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't not mask at work. So then I started trying to buy the cloth masks to wear underneath so that I would like protect my face, protect my barrier, and then add the like kind of crappy ones on top. Still didn't really help. I think at that point I started going to my gynecologist. I was on oral birth control at the time, switched to an IUD. I think when I switched to the IUD, it was the hormonal IUD, it got worse, which...
The acne got worse.
Acne got worse.
I tried not to let my eyebrows shoot up. The minute you said that, I'm like, okay, I can't.
Yeah.
This is being taped. Don't judge Nicole.
Yeah.
Straight face. Like she puts you on an IUD when you're struggling with acne.
Well, and the thought process is, and even like as a nurse, I was like, oh, that makes sense. When you're taking an oral medication, it works systemically. So it affects your body as a whole. The idea behind the hormonal IUD is them saying that it's localized. Like the hormones are just supposed to affect you right there instead of affecting your entire body and your entire system. So it's like, okay, it'll just be more localized. Like I'll have less symptoms, less reactions, whatever. And my acne truly got worse on the hormonal ID. I know that.
That's a huge trigger.
Did
anyone talk to you? Were you thinking stress at the time? Because you must have been under immense stress.
I really, like, at the time, and now it's the forefront of my mind at all times, is thinking about stress management. But at the time, I knew I was stressed, but I truly did not even think that that was a cause of my acne. Like, it really in my mind was just, it has to be a topical issue.
I never did either, though. I always was like, I remember you would always tell me in our sessions, like, are you stressed? And I'd be like, obviously.
Always.
Like, what do you want me to do about it? You know what I mean? It's like, no, but are you like...
It's almost like something that we understand, but that we don't fully honor, you know? Because it's funny, as you're talking, like I have a lot of clients that are hospital workers.
Yeah.
And you are so used to the chaos in regular life, let alone pandemic, that you're not clocking it as stress necessarily. You're in an environment, you're absorbing other people's stress, all of your clients, but you're used to it. So again, it's not registering.
Yeah.
And then I also find too that people that work in hospital environments, like the environment is so heavily sanitized that your body is having to cope with all of that cleanliness, all of this, you know, everything, even just down to your scrubs and the dry cleaning. And so it's just kind of stress, different layers of different types of stress.
Yeah.
That you're not even really, that's your average life.
It becomes your norm. And it's actually something I talked about with my therapist, funny enough, the other day, of like, you get used to whatever your new baseline of stress is. And when you're trying to, like, for myself, I'm managing my stress every day in my life so much through meditation, through my own practices, where I'm trying to bring it down, because I know what I cannot modify is when I'm at the hospital. And we go from coding someone to then I have to turn around and go and give medication to my next patient. It's like this constant kind of whiplash.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and there's no time for the come down. So sometimes you're just like back to back to back. And so you really don't register it. So at the time, it was not even a thought. It really was just, this is localized irritation and or the hormonal IUD I've just gotten. So I took it out. I can't remember if I actually had to, if I went back on oral birth control for a time after that. So I was like, at least it was better on oral birth control. My acne didn't really clear much though when I switched back to oral. So that's when I started seeing, on top of my gynecologist, seeing a dermatologist, trying to figure out what we could do about my acne, because I was getting desperate. Like, it just so painful, not just like visually how I felt and started to react to like that, and being in rooms where I wasn't wearing my mask and feeling so exposed. Felt like everyone was just looking at my acne, but it was really painful. So I think we first started, they were like, maybe, and especially if it is like irritation from the mask and you're at work, maybe it's bacterial. So I got put on doxycycline. I will say, and I know this is a lot of people's story, it probably got better for a time and then it wasn't working anymore. And you can't stay on antibiotics forever. Like even months, even being on that for months is like, now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the damage it had to have just been doing. And so when Doxy stopped working, I then moved to spironolactone. So we're like, if it's not bacterial, it's probably hormone driven. And if the birth control alone is not taking care of it, then you've got excess androgen somewhere. Let's try. Tried spironolactone. It definitely did work, and we went up in dosage, and that helped. But I started travel nursing throughout that period. I was living in Nashville and was like, I could travel nurse, and it's an experience I would love to do. And my best friend, actually, at the time we were living together in Nashville, she was like, well, we can travel nurse together. So we moved to DC. We were there for almost a year. And I remember the exact day that I was just like so sick and tired of my acne and feeling like I'm doing everything and switching out my topicals, because I was working with my derm at the time, and like trying everything. And I had been on a retinol, which I absolutely hate. I hate a retinol. It was so irritating in my skin.
Especially if you were having to wear a mask as well. It's like
I was just like trying
putting
everything.
gasoline on fire.
100%. Yeah, it was just so harsh. Everything was really harsh. My skin was so sensitive. And I remember being at the hospital in DC one day, and I was going on a first date with this guy that night. And so I didn't wear makeup. I never wore makeup to work. I was like, I'm not going to irritate my skin more. And so towards the end of my shift, I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and start getting ready for my date. And I went to put makeup on. And even after I did my makeup, like getting emotional thinking about it, I just remember looking in the mirror and being like, I can't look at my skin anymore. Like even with the makeup, like it's not covering it up because they're just huge nodules. And I remember sending a picture to my dermatologist at the time and being like, can I please just go on Accutane now? Like I've done everything. It's been a year and a half. Like I'm exhausted and I don't know what else we could possibly do at this point. And that was the only information I had at the time. Like there was no one in my atmosphere that would suggest.
Were you following us at that time?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
So
So
like, we were
I know.
I literally,
Like, it makes me so sad
honestly,
that I didn't
everything that you're
know.
saying, I'm like, this is such a story for, I think every PT client has been exactly where you are before they find PT. It's like, you go to the dermatologist or you go to, you said you went to the gynecologist, like you do all of these things to try to like fix what you think is happening. And then
it's not like you're just sitting at home hoping your acne gets better. You're
you really are, because you don't know. Like I think that's the other thing too, is you only know, and I'm sure you can speak to this being in conventional medicine, like you only know that like there's a problem like with my skin. Like I should probably go to the doctor that does skin stuff. So I'm going to go to the dermatologist and I'm going to have them like do all these things. But then you go and you have that experience and then you're like, but you're not seeing me. You're not seeing like what, you know, my skin looks like. You're not looking at it and being like, you have X, Y, and Z. Like, let's do this, this, and this. And I don't think I ever experienced that until, or had that feeling of somebody seeing me until I saw you, honestly, because it's so true. Like everything you're saying, I'm just like, yep, been there, yep, been there. So you did everything and then you ended up going on Accutane. And how was that for you?
Oh my gosh. I was on it for 8 or 9 months. I remember, I mean, they tell you all the side effects going into it. You know that you're going to have to come in and take a pregnancy test. And at the time, I didn't want to have to switch doctors back and forth. So I was literally flying home to Nashville to take my pregnancy test, get my prescription filled, and flying back every month to DC. So it was like that alone was enough.
Commitment.
But
that's where the frustration comes that you are that high level. You're doing all of the things. And you're still
It's not for a lack of trying any of it.
No. And of course, I mean, people, you have acne and everyone's like, have you tried this cleanser? Have you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes,
my God.
I tried everything. I would not be on Accutane if I had not tried everything. And I just remember they tell you also like, you can start to have like depression, some people as far as like suicidal ideation during the first couple of months that you're on it, and like your skin's gonna get crazy dry. And like, I remember having crazy like night terrors for the first month. I definitely like started to dip down in mood and like was feeling more depressed. But then of course there was like this skin drying and flaking. I woke up every day with a nosebleed for months.
Me too. I mean, that's, you don't know, when you hear that you're going to be dry and you've been using retinols and topicals and things, you kind of think to yourself, oh, I can handle that. It's like when you first have a child and you think, oh, I know what it feels like to feel tired. And then you just get blown away. I remember, and like yesterday, waking up and my eyes would be all crusty, the nosebleeds, my lips like falling off in sheets. And
I was putting Aquaphor on every 30 minutes on the dot. Like it's the most drying. And your joints are painful too. I remember just like my whole body aching all the time.
It's crazy. See, that's where I was like, I'll do anything other than that. That's where I draw the line.
Like, and that's the thing, is going back, knowing how it has impacted my liver long term. Because at the time you're just worried about like potential of getting pregnant in the future or all these other things. And when they talk about it being harsh on your liver, you just think, okay, I'm just not going to drink while I'm on Accutane. This is a few months of my life. It's fine. But when you really start to, and it wasn't until I started really getting in on the functional side, knowing how important your liver is at detoxing everything, at eliminating waste on a cellular level every single day, and how you need your kidneys to function, and how Accutane really starts to alter those things. It's like, then after I got off of the Accutane and wanted to start looking at the functional side of things, when my acne came back after the Accutane, I was like, now I'm having to work 3 times harder than if I had never been on the Accutane in the first place, because my system has been so burdened and damaged by this medication.
Well, that's
now.
what, Nick, you always say when you come off suppressants, it's like your acne comes back with vengeance. It's like, you know, even worse.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I don't understand, and maybe you can shed some light on this because you kind of have, you know, you've had your foot in both camps.
Yeah.
Is what I don't understand about the conventional approach is that a lot of the medications that are used affect the organs and systems that actually help acne, like say antibiotics.
Yeah.
Blows out all your good bacteria. Our gut health is, you know, jumping onto what you were saying about your hormonal issues.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever, I mean, I know that you do now, but back in the day when you were first going through it, did anyone ever explain to you that gut health impacts your hormones? Like,
No.
you know?
No, and I remember actually being at my gynecologist and even talking to her about like my symptoms, and when my acne was so bad, she was like, talk to me also about your periods. This is the same woman who had prescribed me birth control for the first time at 17. So I had been seeing her. And I was like, yeah, my periods are painful sometimes. Like, then she asked the questions that are like leading into the PCOS discussion of like, do you feel like you have excess facial hair? I'm like, yeah. Like, also though, so does my grandmother and my aunt. Like, part of it feels genetic, but
She never questioned it.
never questioned it. And instead of, she never did a ovarian ultrasound. She instead just said, you could have PCOS. And of course, the diagnostic for it isn't definitive. Like, it is kind of a triad cluster of symptoms, which is why it's so hard to manage or diagnose. But something you can do is look at the ovaries and see if you have cysts. And she never did that, and instead was just like, you could have PCOS and it's fine because we'll manage it because you're on the birth control anyways. So
I've heard that so
there was
many
no
times.
deeper diving. There was no hormonal testing. And to this day, you go to your gynecologist. If you want deeper hormone testing, you need to be like family prepping. If you're planning to have a baby, that's the only time that then they're like, okay, now we'll start to look deeper.
Yeah.
But because that was not the case, she was like, well, I don't really know. You could have PCOS and that's it. But gut health was never, ever a conversation. And even as a nurse at the time, it was not a thought. Like, you take the antibiotics, we're prescribing them to people for a reason. They have an acute infection. We have to deal with that first. And there was at least the idea of like, you could take probiotics or be eating yogurt or like trying to add in good bacteria. But the idea of the long impact of what antibiotics do, it just was not even a thought, especially in terms of what it could be doing to your face. Like, there was no acne discussion.
Fixation too, I find, and I see it all over social media all the time. There's just this like umbrella label of, oh, you have hormonal acne. You need either birth control or Spiro, and that's it.
That's it.
Like nothing else. And it's kind of like, well, actually, yeah, there's a hormonal component, but there's so many other things, that are impacting on hormones, but also, you know, if you have a genetic predisposition to being acne prone, it's similar to being a diabetic. You know, you have a condition that is lifelong. And the best thing that we can do for people is to help you learn what your skin needs to be able to manage that. You know, like you as a nurse in the middle of a pandemic with masks, okay, you can't change that. But here are all the other things that you can like help bring down that inflammation for your skin.
100%.
You know, that has nothing to do with hormones.
Exactly. And there was just no, and now knowing that like hormones are really like the first thing that get thrown off, and they're the last thing to recover usually when you're talking about like, if you're working on a deeper gut issue that could also be throwing off your hormones. If you're working on stress that's throwing off your hormones, other parts of your body are going to start to come back into balance before your exact, like, let's say estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone levels start to look the perfect way that you want them to look. the
and
hormones
that's
are going to
nature
come
being
last.
smart, right? Like
100%.
So funny.
nature wants to take care of the fact that you're not in a situation to be having family right now. Like you need to get everything, which is
It's literally
so
coming out of fight or
fascinating.
flight.
So funny. Yeah. It's like, whoa, it's
our
so
bodies
true.
know what they were meant and designed to do.
Yeah.
And we've
just, like lost so much sight of that.
Even more powerful, the skin knows
Mm-hmm.
balance and knows how to heal. I think that's what we lose sight of, is that we're taught to not trust our skin, to not believe that we can be clear. When we don't understand, the whole time your skin is being your cheerleader. Like it knows what to do.
It's just telling you a story. And I actually remember, so the way that I found PT was actually through Mari Llewellyn. I was following her on Instagram, and she was talking about and had been posting about coming to you guys and really trying a more holistic approach to acne healing.
We did good work with Mari.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
it was pretty phenomenal.
she, talked about it and posted it so many times. Like it was so transformative.
Well, so you, at this point, were you like the acne after the Accutane came back with vengeance? You were like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, what was that kind of transition like to then look into the functional side?
Did you do Accutane
only once, and it was
How long was it before your acne came back?
3 months, maybe 4.
Isn't that so sad? Like you were on it for 8 months and then
8 months
flying on a plane to go and get testing and going back. Can you imagine?
Oh my God, I feel so like I just want to give that girl a hug.
I want to hug her too, because my skin was clear. I mean, gorgeous afterwards. Like I was like, all of that was worth it. This is amazing. And I felt so confident in myself again. And 3 months later, it was like the first time I had a breakout, I was like, don't panic. Like this is not, it's not going to be a full blown thing again. Like these are small breakouts. And then 3 months in being like, oh no, it's fully coming back. And I actually, after Accutane, went back on Spiro for another, oh my gosh, at least 8 months. Again, all I knew was suppressants. And I was like, obviously,
like true.
I've failed Accutane. What am I going to do? And so I went back on Spiro on an even higher dose, which of course then comes with the side effects.
Were you on 150 or?
Probably, yeah. And I was taking it twice a day. Like my blood pressure has always naturally been low anyways. And so, I mean, it was just tanking me. I was drinking water all day long, still feeling like I was going to pass out. But my skin was mainly clear. However, it was after I would eat, I would start to feel like in certain hot spots, just my skin tingling. It was like something like wanted to come out, and I was like, something's wrong. I'm taking the highest dose of this medication now, and something's still coming through. And I do feel like I was like trying to like listen to my body more and be like, okay, what's really triggering it? When is it during the day? Okay, now I feel like it's more related to food times, and trying to become intuitive in that way. And funny enough, I was working at NYU at the time. I was on my lunch break, just walking through Midtown, just like so defeated in life in general. And I was listening to another episode of Mari's podcast. And she had Emily Morrow on, who is like a functional guru. And she was talking about the work that she had done to become a functional practitioner and how she was helping Mari, not just externally, but now internally, trying to get to the root cause of her acne. And it was just like a light bulb moment for me where I was like, ooh.
Calling, like this is.
Exactly. It was like, not only is this how I think I'm going to finally heal my acne, because the conventional route has not worked. There's no further avenue I can go down. So it felt like such a calling in that way, but it also was like, wait, I could do that. Like that feels so much more like a calling of my life, of what I would love to do is working with women and helping other women that have struggled in this intense way that I have.
And can I tell you, I hope that people like yourself like multiply. Hearing
totally
that people in the medical field, we have another client, Julia Benville, who's in medical school, amazing skin transformation.
Yeah.
But she too is very, like, she is studying to be a neuroscientist or something, but she is very, I just threw that away. Like, oh, she's just
a neuroscientist.
studying to be a neuroscientist.
Like, oh.
But she's very drawn to the integrative approach for the same reason. It's like, if more of you join forces and we can get, because I've always dreamed of, it's not that I don't want to fight with the medical profession.
No.
I respect their credentials. I understand that dermatologists study very hard to diagnose skin disorders and prescribe medication.
Yeah.
But I want the integrative approach to like grow.
Yes. No,
know?
I totally agree. It's just like there can be a marrying of the two worlds. There's always a time and place like where you do need an antibiotic. If you have a blood infection and you're in the hospital, you're going to take that antibiotic versus like, I need to go home and take my tea tree oil. In cases like this where I had tried all of the medication, my body was still trying to tell me something. I was like, this is not working for me anymore. So within that same week, I had signed up to start the integrative health practitioner course so that I could like learn alongside my healing journey. And by the time I would learn all of that information, also have a certification to help other people. But I also got functional lab testing done, which had shown just like, as soon as I got my blood work back, I was like, it's everything.
I'd be curious to see it now. Like what is on there? Because it's like, whoa.
I have it saved, and sometimes I refer back to it just to be like, wow, like just it
like
just
look
showed,
how far you've come.
Yeah, like so many blood sugar dysregulation issues. My hormones were out of whack. It was showing a lot of infection patterns. And so that was just kind of my kickstart. And then by January of this year, I'd finished that certification and was like, okay, like now I have this knowledge. I'm going to get another set of even deeper work done so that I can take a look at my gut and my hormones and figure out where everything's at. And
what did you find?
I did lab work at the end of December, got my lab results back in January, and I had high levels of candida, so yeast overgrowth, really high levels of mold, which was the one that shocked me. The yeast was not shocking. Anytime I had gluten-containing products or anything like that,
that's why I was with
that's when I felt the tingling.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes, that was completely related to any kind of like gluten-containing products. But the mold, I was like, this was not something that I expected. But then I started like looking into all of the mold symptoms. I'm like, it totally makes sense. I've probably lived in multiple different moldy environments, starting in the dorm rooms in college, and like building up.
Stories are starting to come through more and more. We have clients at PT too, you know, especially people that present with very systemic inflammation. Like you can see the diffuse redness under everywhere.
Yes.
It's not kind of sort of, you know, just hormonal or only on. It's like, it's just randomly and just ferocious almost.
Yeah.
Like mold. You know, it's
exactly.
almost like it's mimicking this, where it's coming from.
And it is. And that was the thing is like the yeast like acne, it appears more fungal and it's the bumps and it's the irritation. But the mold, I was like, it totally makes sense because I would get red. It wasn't even acne. It just like red patches, splotches all over. And so once I got my testing back, I was like, wow, I'm shocked, but not at the same time. And then also I had really high levels of heavy metals, mainly mercury, which now knowing heavy metals can kind of hold on to yeast and also inversely. So like the fact that I had the candida overgrowth and the heavy metals, it's like until I address both of these underlying issues, the acne can come back. So throughout this year, I've been working through protocols to first address the candida and the mold, and I'm now actually still in the middle of a heavy metals protocol, which I was kind of telling Mary about yesterday. Like my skin was doing so well. And recently I've started to have more breakouts, which I am so grateful to my skin now. I don't panic when I have
the messages
breakouts.
your skin is sending you.
Exactly, exactly. And so I have to remind myself like, okay, this is what's supposed to happen. You're going through a protocol and your body has to eliminate it. And when the liver is overburdened and these other things, our skin is our largest organ. Like it has
it's
to
an
go
elimination
somewhere.
organ. And I don't think that people, when people get upset about purging or things happening, they're not necessarily understanding that the skin is doing the job. Like it is getting the debris and helping the body get it out.
Yeah.
It feels, I understand, like psychologically it's frustrating and it's upsetting, but your skin's actually doing the work.
Yeah, it's doing the work for you. And it is so frustrating only because like we become self-conscious and you're aware that everyone can see it. And even if no one's actually paying attention to it, you think that everyone is.
Oh my gosh.
And that's all that you're thinking about. And so, but
Well, Mary, I mean, we talk about it a lot because there's, obviously there's everybody in the community, but just even within our team, we're all acne prone. And Mary and I are always having conversations because it's like, there's this whole thing of you feel like, and you're in the medical profession, like you kind of feel like your skin's betraying you in the sense it's not reflecting all the work that you do.
Right. You're
on
like,
yourself.
I'm doing the best. I'm doing all of the stress management. Like, why does my skin hate me? Like, that's such an easy narrative to jump to.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. And that's just like perpetuating.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, I'd love to get into that integrative approach to healing acne, especially in your eyes with doing the functional testing. So what does that functional lab testing include? When you work with somebody, what do you usually start with or recommend?
Yeah. So I definitely start all of my clients and I preface it when I send it to them, like, you're going to receive a large questionnaire, kind of like what you guys also send out. Like, it can look intimidating, but I need to know, like, I'm asking questions from like your birth. I want to know if you were breastfed. I want to know how you ate growing up. How many rounds of antibiotics do you think you've been on in your lifetime? So it's very in-depth because I want to look at your larger picture of what you've experienced. And from that intake alone, I start to like piece together some things before we meet. And then I sit down and go over that with my clients for an hour or longer. And we just kind of talk about their experience. And I also point out like things that I've kind of pulled from it. And some clients choose that they want to run the full gamut. They want to do the hormone testing, gut testing, omega-3s. Like they want to look at everything.
And what kind of like hormone and gut testing do you do?
So mine specifically, instead of the GI map, I run an organic acids test. It's very similar. It's going to look at, like it'll show yeast and mold overgrowth, but it shows 75 different biomarkers. So it will also show what nutrients are potentially being depleted by the mold that's there.
Yeah.
How is your metabolic function based on those things that could be burdening your system? So I love that test. And then I'll do a thyroid adrenal hormone test with people a lot also. I don't love to look at hormones first because again, they're probably being impacted by something deeper like a gut issue. But I do like to see it sometimes because I can also look at thyroid function and see how your body is maybe being overburdened and now your metabolic function is starting to change and you may be losing your hair or your nails are thinning or things like that could be happening again because of other issues that are burdening the body. But with a thyroid adrenal hormone test, it also looks at blood sugar dysregulation. So we're looking at—
That's huge for acne.
It's huge. You look at people's fasting insulin levels and what their glucose levels are.
Is that from like people, maybe having coffee on an empty stomach or like waiting to eat or skipping meals or whatever? Or is that like just how somebody is? Like, is there a genetic component? Like, why does somebody get those results?
So a lot of times, actually, I think everything kind of comes back to stress. At the end of the day, when I'm looking at like what is causing the issues in your body, it is almost always stress related. Now that can be life stress, work-life balance, and you're actually like feeling stressed, or it can be stress on the body. And stress on the body can be caused by these underlying infections from having a mold overgrowth, from having heavy metal toxicity. Your body is being burdened, it is under stress, and it may have been under stress for years. And you maybe didn't experience the acne when you first had the mold exposure, but now you've had the mold exposure and you have candida overgrowth and the body can't keep up.
Tips the balance. Like there's a level that your body can handle where you outwardly are well.
Yes.
But really your system system is
internally
in
it's fighting
overdrive.
Yep.
And then there's something kind of like what you were saying about the pandemic, or that's when you first notice it. It's like it wasn't the mask wearing only, but that was what tipped you over the edge, and everything else, the underlying stuff
started to finally come up. Exactly. So that's what happens a lot of times with blood sugar is whenever you are under stress and your cortisol starts to rise, when cortisol starts to rise, your body's like, oh, I am in fight or flight. I need to do something. So your body's revving up to create a response. Your blood sugar starts to rise. So your body is now able to use that glucose as fuel to go do that fight that it needs to do. Well, when there's no fight to be done, there is no actual threat, then now you have these high blood sugar levels. So your body has to then come in with insulin to help bring that sugar down. So that's what is actually happening a lot of times in women who have PCOS or just blood sugar dysregulation. You go to the doctor and they're like, oh my gosh, like, your hemoglobin A1C, which is a diabetes marker, is high, or your blood sugar is high. Like, what's causing that? And a lot of times, so you see with acne clients, they're like, I eat as perfect as I possibly can. Like, it cannot be my diet. It's not always diet related. It's stress related, because every time that you are stressed and you're shooting up that cortisol, it's throwing your blood sugar on this roller coaster ride. And so then you end up with all this metabolic dysfunction that has nothing to do with your diet at all.
In fact, very little, which is why it's so funny, because very naturally Pacific Touch and the way that we deal with things, even though I acknowledge that a nutritious diet helps, I don't go hard about, like demonizing food or really grilling people about what they eat, because the average person that comes to Pacific Touch is really mindful. But the picture that you start to hear that's very, very common is like, has a super busy life, doesn't necessarily disconnect, constantly on the run, de-stresses with intense exercise, can be forgetting to eat,
which causes stress on the body.
Busy job, also just living in New York City, like all of the stresses and strains of going through.
Like, our normal is our baseline is pretty high.
Baseline is high. Yeah. And I know for myself, kind of being, the old fogey now of the group, and I look back at young women like yourselves that are living through a social media era, it's like, what is the stress of consuming the information that we're all consuming, the news, all of the sort of the things.
Or just like seeing everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even just constant. Seeing what everybody else is doing, the comparative aspect, or like also too, in a skin perspective, it's like when you see other people online and you're like, oh my God, their skin looks fantastic. Why did they have good skin? And I like, what is like, why did they have? And I mean, like, I'm 28 years old and I literally am in this industry, and I know skin, and I also know social media, and I know it's not real, but I still get bogged down by it all the time, because I'm like, wait, how do they have great skin? Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy, and it is so frustrating. And then that mindset really does then put you on a spiral. Now you're shooting your cortisol back up, and you're gonna break out more. Like,
it's just,
so then
all
you kind
goes
of
back.
Like, do it to yourself too. But I did want to answer your question about if you have coffee on an empty stomach in the morning. If we go back at looking at what does coffee do, it is not a suppressant like alcohol. It excites you.
A stimulant?
It's a stimulant. Thank you. I'm like, why did I not come up with that word? Coffee is a stimulant, so it raises cortisol naturally. So our bodies, when we wake up, cortisol naturally rises. Within the first 30 minutes of waking, your cortisol is at one of its highest places in the day. That's normal. That's supposed to happen. What we're doing when you wake up and you have a cup of coffee and your body already is going to rev up for the day, you have nothing on your stomach, you're now taking cortisol and just shooting it through the roof. And if you have no blanket and food is your blanket to really like allow to mitigate that that huge spike in cortisol, then yeah, it just shoots up and your blood sugar shoots up. Even if people are like, oh, I have coffee, no sugar, no cream, there's nothing else in it. It doesn't matter. You could have just had a donut and it's the same effect on your blood sugar because you're spiking cortisol. So it's going to flood the system.
What if on top of that, you then go and do an intense workout on an empty tummy, you know, having had not the greatest sleep, like maybe you were out late, you needed that coffee because you were tired. Like there's all these other layers,
it just
right?
Cascades. Yeah. And it's this like whole entire cascade that you feel like you can't get on top of. And knowing the way that I live my life now, I mean, even just 2 years ago, if I could have gone back to her and been like, this is what your life looks like, I would have been like, no way that I stopped drinking coffee like altogether for almost a year and was like only doing matcha. No way that I wake up and I'm like, have to have my 20 to 30 grams of protein. Like I prioritize sleep over anything else in my life now. It's like my most important piece.
I mean, when you have all of those, you know, non-negotiables, it's really hard to go back the other way because it's like 100%. It just dysregulates you in so many ways.
And you recognize how crappy you feel and you're like, I lived like this for years. And was just kept on going on.
You live it's almost like a fog that you get too used to, but then when you come out of it and breathe the fresh air, you can't go back into the fog.
It's so true.
No.
Yeah. So back to the lab testing, I'm so curious like how this is different from what we receive at the regular doctor's office, back to that like conventional integrative difference. Like why aren't we seeing, or, you know, they're great tests. They're obviously all rooted in like science with the blood panels and everything, but how are they different from the ones that we usually get at, you know, our PCP?
Yeah. So one, if they're doing blood work, which we can run blood work, right? But the way that they look at it in your doctor's office versus how it will be perceived through a functional lens is completely different. And this was something I learned through my training, and it was just another light bulb moment where I was like, that makes sense. The way that we look at lab testing, like in the hospital, when I get my patients' labs back, there is a very large range that is in the normal range. Way too large of a range. So when you're looking at that same blood work under a functional lens, we're not looking at, okay, is this normal just outside of a disease range? It's like, what is optimal that's going to prevent us from getting to a disease state? And that is a much smaller window that actually shows true health, because your doctor is not going to say there's an issue until it's already present. And then what? Now you're managing a disease that needs medication when we could have caught it earlier on. We could have looked at that blood sugar dysregulation and said, what's going on? Is it because of your diet? Let's switch up some of your diet. Or is it more related to stress? Let's manage these factors. Let's get your body off of the blood sugar roller coaster before you now have full-blown diabetes. Like, that's my struggle now, still existing in the conventional medicine space. I mean, I had a patient a couple weeks ago and he told me at lunch, he was like, he had lunch and then I was checking his blood sugar before dinner and it was high. And he was like, I don't understand why it's high. Like, I didn't have any sugar today. I just had a sandwich for lunch. Well, bread is carbohydrates, which are sugar. People just simply aren't even educated by their doctor, even once you get a diabetes diagnosis. Like, they still just are, no one's told anything.
The lack of education, like Mary probably gets sick of me saying it. But if I could like tattoo something on my forehead, it's education.
100%.
It shocks me because I'll even challenge like the idea, even our thought that we've tried everything we know about, but we don't know, we know this much. You know, because I have so many people when I read a skin health intake that comes through and they've been going at it for a decade and they'll write, you know, what's frustrating you? I've tried everything and nothing has worked. We get into the treatment room, the first 20 questions I ask them, they'll be like, oh no, I haven't tried that. No, I haven't tried that. Oh, I didn't. No one's ever asked me that. I didn't, you know, and it's like, people don't know.
I'm sure you get like a little high every time somebody says,
I feel,
you know,
you know what I do is because I start to feel bad. Like I feel like, oh God, they're probably feeling, because they just spend all of their time going, oh no, I didn't know that. I'm like, this is so great. And it actually is. It's like, I have so much hope because there's so much we can do now.
Right.
Like you haven't tried,
you tried everything.
You release the person. You know how if you go back to thinking what you felt when Accutane didn't work. You know, when they say to you because I remember I was on Accutane at least 3 times. And you know when they say to you, there's only Accutane left, and so you go on that and it doesn't work, and then in your head you're like, oh my God, there's nothing.
Like, this is the end of the road. I just need to like throw my hands up.
There's nothing better for me when a first-time client walks out the door, same acne, but with the biggest smile on their faces. And they have all this homework and they're so excited and they're like, oh,
you feel empowered.
So
you do. You're like, okay,
like
this is not my forever. And there's like, you know.
And someone else is presenting new information to me that I would never known. Like, there is a new doorway. It's like a back alleyway. Like, okay, Accutane was the end of the road and someone's like, hey, come over here.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, for you, when you have a client that comes in and wants to heal their acne, especially with this integrative functional approach, what are the common results that you're seeing when you do run the test? Like in general, I know we talked about stress and it's all rooted in stress, but kind of specifically, is there anything that comes up that you're like, this is so interesting?
Yeah. So a lot of times, you know, we'll see underlying infection patterns. Let's say we do a stool test and someone comes back with a parasite, or we do the organic acid test and we're looking at yeast or mold. A lot of times, if someone's experienced acne for a really long time, then there is some kind of underlying infection. It can also be blood sugar related, which is related to stress, or the hormones, which is also related to stress. But some kind of underlying infection is normally present. But what's interesting to see is, okay, we see that underlying infection, but this is like, you're talking about like your love and light bulb moment with these clients being able to say, okay, now we have so much more to work on. My favorite part of going over lab work with people is being like, okay, I love like kind of puzzle piecing all of it together of like, here's the underlying thing, right? Here's the thing that may be the main driver, but let's look at how that is now affecting your B vitamins. It's depleting your body of magnesium, which is why you feel so low energy all the time. It's depleting you of zinc, which your skin also really needs for healthy skin. It's depleting you of vitamin C, so now your immune system is down. And I have clients all the time that are like, either I get recurrent yeast infections, again, could be candida related. I'm constantly getting UTIs, could be bacteria related, or I just am always very prone to getting sick. And it's like these underlying gut pathogens or any kind of infection in the body are wearing your body down and depleting it of everything else that you need to feel healthy. It can be running through your neurotransmitters. So sometimes it could be the reason that you're feeling depressed or anxious, and then people go on anti-anxiety or depression medication, which, yes, can be very helpful in acute settings. And I, again, working in the conventional space, I've seen medicine work and it has its place. But when you're on it, because your neurotransmitters and your happy hormones, all of your serotonin is being messed up because you have a mold infection, now we have to start there. Like,
that's crazy.
We're going to get rid of the mold. No, I have chills because I sat down with a client and talked about this the other day, and we just had this like, she's already been like a month or two into her protocol and we've been working through things. We've already gone over her lab work, but there was like some new stuff coming up and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so much more to this picture, and this medication is causing your jawline acne and that's throwing off again your neurotransmitters. And so maybe like there is a point in this process where we can get off some of this medication when we've handled these underlying infections and your body's able to start producing naturally again what it was meant to produce. You don't need to be on all of this, like medication wise, or even when you look at the functional side, supplement wise. A lot of people start out, myself included, I started on a lot of supplements of like, my body is just depleted of everything. So like, I'm going to be on the multivitamin, the extra vitamin C, the vitamin D, just to like boost my body up while I'm trying to get rid of all of the crap. But the eventual goal is to be on as little supplements or medication when you look at either side as possible, because your body is more resilient and able to take on what's coming at it.
Which is what we want to do with skin, you know?
Right.
It's like sometimes when we get into back and forth about, you know, should we, you know, with suppressants, like my dream is that people find balance with their skin without having to be on these things. Even if, let's just say you're not disturbed by side effects and you're quite happy to be on it, why do you want to be on something if there is a chance that you're able to work in a way and get to a place where you don't need to rely on said thing?
Well, I think that's what's funny is we always hear like, you know, if somebody says they're on Spiro or something like that, it's like, but I don't want to be on it, but I'm on it right now. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the, you know, have to have a disclaimer of like, I don't love that I'm on it, but like, you know, it's working. So I kind of like am on it, you know, it's just.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have
no shame. I totally get it too.
Yeah.
The
thing is though, it's like, and I have the benefit obviously of hindsight. It's like you're happy with things at certain phases in your life. And when you're in the prime of your life and you're not necessarily thinking about having children, sure, you're fine with X, Y, and Z. But if you get to a point in your life where you want to have a kid and they look at your medical protocol and go, well, you've got to get off that, and that. Even if you have been happy, then you're like, holy shit, what do I do?
My whole life is about to have to change.
Yeah. And my skin is about to really change.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's so interesting being able to look at it with clients because I do have the functional background and not only that, but I've been on all the medications that they're on, like whether it is the birth control or this actual acne suppressants or the antacids I was on. Like my gut was messed up for so long too. I was taking all of the medications. And so I'm constantly kind of walking this fine line with people of like, I know why you're on the medication. I know the exact side effects of your medication. I know how it's burning through all of the nutrients your body needs. However, I'm not going to tell you to immediately come off of them right now. But what I am going to do is open up a conversation of, now we have the data, we have the test results. Let's start to address some of these things. And when you start to feel better, let's start to taper off. Like, I want to work with you and whatever doctor you're seeing and be able to say, okay, like this is not, again, me versus you. This is not conventional versus functional medicine. It's working together to get a client to where they feel the best in their life. And that's different for everyone. Some people are not going to fully come off of all medications forever, or they don't want to at that point in their life. But can I get you to a better place where we are more on an integrative approach than just looking at medication as my end all be all when it's just not?
Yeah, it's so true. Well, how much of it, especially with the clients that you work with, I know integrative approach. So it's like, obviously the supplementation, but diet, lifestyle, stress. How much of it do you think is the diet lifestyle piece? And then how much of it is the supplementation after the testing results?
Yeah, I think I send my clients just along, like the protocol is very all-inclusive because oftentimes what's causing your acne or gut dysfunction is not one thing. And so it's not one thing that we can address that's going to get you the results that you need.
Of course.
So again, a lot of times it is multifactorial. It's, okay, let's really take a look at your diet because a lot of people do think that they're eating pretty well. But there are some foods that are healthy that could be causing a lot of issues, like nuts and seeds are healthy foods, but they can also cause fermentation in the gut. So if you have an overgrowth, there may need to be a time frame in which we take those out because it can be irritating your gut lining and causing you bloating when you're like, I was just eating sunflower seeds. Like, I thought those were good for me.
Yeah. You know what I find too that I see a lot is it's not so much even necessarily a specific food. It's like the fact that it's eaten in excess, especially breakfast food. Like people will eat the same thing over and over again. And I think that can sometimes build up reactivity as well.
100%.
Or people don't realize that they're depleted in other nutrients because they're only eating
like 5 foods.
Yeah. Or this whole sugar spike thing, that's huge.
It is.
You know, when I see people that come through for the first time that will, you know, say, oh, you know, my diet is super healthy. And then I'll be like, I have, you know, granola fruit for breakfast and then I don't have it. And it's like, oh, but there's no protein. Like, protein.
Yeah, you got to add
where's your healthy fat, that sort of thing. It's like there's the
Or what about fiber? Everybody is talking about fiber right now because everybody is talking about protein and now it's fiber. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
And that's the thing is, again, it's nothing is all or nothing. Like it really has to be a balance. Because the whole reason that people are now bringing up fiber is because, again, let's talk about eliminating waste. If you have one of these underlying infections, you're trying to push it out of your body. What do you need to do that? You need to be having bowel movements. So in general, like a lot of people do have, especially if you have underlying gut issues, you're having these irregular bowel movements. And so fiber is going to help with that. But fiber needs to be layered again with the protein and with the healthy fat. Like we can't just be throwing a ton of flaxseed at our breakfast with no protein, with no like avocado or any healthy fats and be like, fiber is the answer. Like there's always going to be a fad. There's always going to be, now we're doing colostrum and now everyone's on creatine. It's like, these are helpful tools within the belt, but they are not the actual belt. Like we have to really look at, it all comes back to a much simpler, and when you tell people to strip back and go simpler, that's actually the hardest thing to do sometimes, because we all want to grab the new colostrum. We all want to grab whatever the next new greens powder is. Like that's great. But what really needs to be done is like, can we go back to a diet that's rich in healthy fats, that's protein forward, especially for women? It is so important for your hormones, especially in the morning. If you're skipping breakfast, you cannot be. You just simply cannot be. Like I don't care that you're not
in
hungry.
2025. We're all
like,
over that now.
Yeah, we have to start out with something.
Right.
And so,
you know what's super easy? I always think to myself, like, what were my grandparents eating?
Right.
Or what were my great-grandparents eating?
Yeah, you
like,
say that a lot.
Because it's so funny. Like in New Zealand, I grew up in a Polynesian family with my great-grandmother, my grandparents. So I had like 2 or 3 generations in the house. And you know, when you talk about, say, eating protein for breakfast, in my day, people had a cooked meal for breakfast. And so there was protein.
Right.
We weren't eating, the processed food came in my mum's generation, but I still had that benefit of the great-grandmother and my grandmother, and the difference in the eating patterns that has happened in the last couple of generations is easily the reason why we're in the situation that we're in.
100%.
You know, my grandparents were still, they weren't going to even the supermarket. Like my grandmother had a tin and she made biscuits like once a week. And my great-grandmother was never not cooking, and everything was from scratch. Nothing was ultra processed, you know, and now we have this situation. And they had a veggie garden.
Yeah,
My actually had a veggie garden.
I went to my grandma's house a couple of weekends ago. She has a huge garden. Her and my grandfather always grew everything. And so I was out there picking green beans with her for hours. We were getting blueberries, like, and I went because I wanted to learn. Exactly. I was like, I want to like be a part of the land. I want to like feel what it feels like again, to be a part of your food source and to feel like, not only does it feel good eating those foods, but it feels good feeling like I know exactly where it's coming from. We don't have that in modern day. Like everyone's going to the grocery store. You don't know how long the food took on a flight to get here or on a boat. Like it's coming from places that had to pick the food early, so it's not even properly ripe, or you get it and it goes bad in 2 days in the fridge. But our food source is a huge reason that we have such high inflammatory levels in our body. And the inflammation is, you know, acne is inflammation. Gut inflammation is its own thing. And so our whole bodies are kind of inflamed. And it's addressing each of these things, looking at diet, looking at lifestyle, looking at, are you cherry picking supplementation that like just because you were fed it on social media and you think it's what you're supposed to be taking? Now we have your lab results back. And so actually you don't need to be on that vitamin because you have enough of your B vitamins. It's zinc maybe for you that we really need to get, or the magnesium.
Important because I feel like too, when you're just guessing, I mean, I understand, I know that it's an investment to invest in the testing.
Yeah.
But when you're just throwing mud against a wall, hoping something is going to stick, you know?
You really are.
Yeah. And that's where the frustration comes because you're spending the money, you're doing what that your favorite influencer did, but you're not getting the results. What's wrong with you? Like everything keeps coming back as it's not working, and you're thousands of dollars down. But if you don't know exactly what you need to be targeting, you're going in blind.
Exactly.
It's so true.
It's hard to tell people up front, like, yes, I understand, because unfortunately, a lot of testing isn't covered by insurance, which is why your doctor's not running it. Like, it's not just because doctors are uneducated or like maybe they don't want to also be able to run it for you.
Right, for not, or there's a...
They can't, they like won't even run it
they're
if
not allowed
insurance
to
won't cover it.
Exactly.
And so that's why they tell you no so often when you start to go in, you start to get more educated on functional testing and you go in and ask your doctor, like, no, I'm not running
It's so true.
Because they can't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just always coming back to like, let's start with the investment now. Because again, yeah, I can't imagine the amount of money, if someone sat me down and told me the tens of thousands of dollars, I'm sure, of money that I spent on face creams that didn't work, on different supplements that absolutely did not work and that my body didn't like. Like, if I looked at the full gamut of what I've spent over the years versus if I had had the knowledge and the access to functional testing from the beginning, I, one, wouldn't have dealt with acne for 10 years. I, number two, would have made that investment up front and actually given my body what I needed.
Right. You could
and spent so much less in the long
you could
run.
have been your best advocate in your own health. I mean, especially when we've been talking about this, but marrying the two between conventional and functional, but just knowing more about yourself and your diet, your lifestyle, your supplement routine, like all of these things are just making you the best advocate that you can be so that when you go to the doctor or whatever, like you have kind of that baseline a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing
So
too is, I mean, there is what is the price tag for the emotional toll that it takes over? Like I first went to the dermatologist at 13, so I was probably breaking out actually like 11, 12. My mum had acne as well, so she was like very traumatized by it.
Yeah.
I got my period very early, so there was like, and I also grew up in New Zealand in the 70s, so there was a lot of dairy and milk instead of water. There's a lot of things. Like if I do the same thing as you, like I think to myself, if I could go back and help 13-year-old Nicola, you know, but I was 13 to 32, and it's like, what price emotionally do you pay and how much is that worth, you know, to be able to sort it out instead in a couple of years. Like not, because the thing is the integrative approach works, but it also takes time.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's an investment of dollars and time.
Yeah.
But then again, when you say like the integrative approach takes time, yes, it does. But does it take any more time than the time that you're wasting on? Yeah, it takes way less time
when you look
have
at
a
it
targeted,
kind of
like,
just in most things, like we always say, you just have to zoom out. Like there's so many things that you just kind of have to consider.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, this we could just have chatted away, like just sharing horror stories, like all these conversations. I mean, there's so many things that I'm like, whoa, like all of the findings that you can have and all of the testing, it's just so important. Like back to Nicola's point, we need more people like you doing this work.
It's
really so exciting that like this is, you know, you are really taking on a big role. So we're so grateful for you and for the work that you do and for being here today. Thank you so much for just sharing your story and being so vulnerable. Where can people find you and work with you?
Well, thank you guys for having me. This has been, I mean, again, it's a dream to talk to anyone who has experience in acne, and I love PT's approach.
Yeah.
And that's
you had
why
your first
I've been
facial.
following you guys for so long.
Yeah, you had your first facial with Kim yesterday.
It's amazing. If you have not been to the treatment room, you have to go now. It was incredible, and I can't wait to go back. But yes, if you guys want to find me, I'm at integrativewellness.com, and I'm at Nurse Acne on Instagram, so you can find my website through my bio there or go directly to my website, and you'll inquire about becoming a client. I like to, same thing with PT, I want to hear your story first. I want to know where you're coming in from. But I just like to tell people, like, again, medication does not have to be the end of the road for you. And lab testing and getting real functional testing is just that first piece of like starting the different route and the route that actually is going to lead to the long-term healing. So it like gets me excited every time I get client lab results back to be like, okay, now we have your roadmap and I can take you through this process. I'm going to follow you through it.
I call it skin freedom. I always feel like I just want people to feel free.
Yes.
Not bound down.
Well, it's so funny. Like everything that you're saying with that roadmap, I'm like, we do the same thing at PT. So marrying the two is just, We're in good hands, everybody.
Yes.
We are in good hands.
Yes.
We're going to be okay. Well, thank you so much, Emily. Thanks, Nick, as always.
For having me.
Of course.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to Skin Talk Tuesday. We'll catch you next week. And if you have any questions or need us, you know where to find us. Skin Talk Tuesday podcast on Instagram, Pacific Touch NYC on Instagram as well. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.